Alexander Volkanovski will be defending his featherweight championship at UFC 290 against Yair Rodriguez. With wins over the likes of Max Holloway and Jose Aldo, Alexander Volkanovski is arguably the most dominant champion in UFC featherweight history. Most recently, Alexander Volkanovski came up short against Islam Makhachev at UFC 284. His goal of becoming only the fourth fighter in UFC history to be a simultaneous two-division champion didn't come to fruition. Volkanovski is looking to bounce back after that defeat, making his return to the featherweight division and once again staking his claim as the undisputed featherweight king.
Congrats to Yair, and now we build up a big featherweight fight. Let's go.
His opponent, Yair Rodriguez, who knocked out Brian Ortega at UFC Fight Night in July last year and earned himself an interim title victory over Josh Emmett at UFC 284 in Perth, Australia. Yair is looking to fulfill his dreams of becoming a UFC featherweight champion. But does Rodriguez have what it takes to dethrone Volkanovski? Now, as we know, Alexander Volkanovski has currently walked through everybody within the featherweight division. He's just shown that he's so much further ahead than the rest of the competition at this point within his career. That was one of the reasons that he moved up to lightweight to challenge Islam Makhachev. Now, from what Volkanovski has said, he was offered a rematch with Islam Makhachev later on in the year. Now, he was given the option to wait, but as we know, Volkanovski likes to be very active, and he didn't want to wait for that opportunity later on in the year. He said, look, give me Yair Rodriguez, who's the current interim champion, and let's just get right back in there. So kudos to Volkanovski. He could have just waited around, but he didn't. Now, I feel everyone's overlooking Yair Rodriguez a little bit here. He's a very crafty striker and can come at you from a lot of different angles, and he can be very difficult to read. I don't like the fact that he's getting so much disrespect, and the reason he's being overlooked doesn't have anything to do with his own ability, as much as it does with Volkanovski just being that good. So contrary to popular belief, Alexander Volkanovski does have 12 knockouts on his record. Now, granted, he has gone to decisions a lot in his later career, but I think that's just because he's become a much smarter fighter and he hasn't taken as much risks. And it's served him quite well, hasn't it? I mean, he's been able to hold on to the belt for a number of years now, and there hasn't really been anyone that's gotten close to him. Bar Brian Ortega, who almost submitted him with a guillotine choke a few years back in what was one of the best fights in featherweight history. He does have the ability to finish the fight early as well, having 7 first-round finishes on his record. And with a striking accuracy of 57%, Yair Rodriguez has to be very careful not to make any mistakes here. Now, Volkanovski, as we know on the feet, is a little bit of a headhunter. Now, 63% of Alexander Volkanovski's strikes end up hitting his opponent's head, so he does have a nice jab there to keep his opponent in range. Now, one of Alexander Volkanovski's biggest assets that you can't really see in statistics is just how tough the man is. He's just shown the ability to fight back from adversity on multiple occasions within his career. He's done it against Brian Ortega. He did it against Islam Makhachev. Now, granted, within that contest, he didn't get the victory, but you can just see his never say die attitude. And he has the ability to be able to get out of positions that a lot of other fighters just don't have the ability to, or the mental fortitude to persist through. So Yair Rodriguez definitely has his work cut out for him here. Now, I think Yair Rodriguez is a fantastic fighter. His record is 16 wins with 3 losses, and he does have some very impressive victories. But unfortunately for him, I just don't see how he's going to be able to win this contest. I do give him a chance to win because he can be very crafty and unorthodox on the feet, and he does have submission ability. But in saying that, I think Brian Ortega is a much better grappler than what Yair Rodriguez is, and even he wasn't able to put away Alexander Volkanovski. But I don't think Alexander Volkanovski should be underestimating Yair at all, because Yair Rodriguez is up and coming and he's very hungry, and he wants to cement himself as a champion within the UFC. Now, unlike Alexander Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez isn't so much a headhunter. About 50% of his strikes land to his opponent's head, and the rest are distributed between the legs and the body. I find fighters like Yair Rodriguez, who target different areas of the body, are a lot harder to read. But in saying that, I don't think it's going to be anything that Alexander Volkanovski hasn't seen before, and I just think it's going to be very difficult for Yair Rodriguez to win. So my pick for this contest is Alexander Volkanovski. Let me know what you guys think. Now, selfishly, I want Alexander Volkanovski to get the win here because, one, I'm Australian, so I want to see my homeboy win. And also, selfishly, I want to see Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski again. As we know, it was one of the best fights of the year, one of the best fights of the last couple of years, and I want to see if Alexander Volkanovski can get the job done there. Very interesting fight nonetheless. We haven't had many other announcements for UFC 290, but hopefully some more fights will be announced soon. And if you're interested in our newsletter, please feel free to check that out in the description below as well. But thanks very much for tuning in, everyone, and I'll catch you all later.